Fallout New Vegas is a game known for its impressive level of player freedom. But what if I didn't have any freedom? Can I beat Fallout New Vegas as the Courier? Before we start, I think I should clarify what I mean. Thanks to the new season of the Fallout television series, we've now seen what's happened to the City of Sin. Long story short, whatever happened here could only have happened if something horrible happened. Thankfully, the show also introduced us to a certain horrible who might just fit the bill. My special stats were the same as his stats in Fallout Shelter. 4 strength, 5 perception, 5 endurance, 8 charisma, 8 intelligence, 4 agility, and 6 luck. Barter, medicine, and speech seemed to be the way to go. Wild Wasteland and Skilled were my perks. Wild Wasteland because, obviously, and Skilled because I knew I was going to need those 5 extra points. With our handsome avatar molded from clay now ready, it's time to go over some rules. The show gave us several small hints as to what may have happened in the true New Vegas run, and those hints will be our guideline. You'll see what I mean. Without further ado, let's do some horrible things. Together, of course. I would never leave you behind. With this monstrosity released into the world, I am acquainted with what will be my only friend, the 10mm pistol. In the Fallout mobile game, this is the weapon the Courier has, so this is the weapon we have. I am immediately asked to put my friend to the test when some unruly bottles try mugging me. Naturally, I turn off my body cam and begin defending myself. It was a long battle, and many a bottle lay broken, but I stood tall. My body was intact, but my spirit was broken. Looking to forget what I had just done, I headed to the local bar. Here I found Trudy and Joe Cobb arguing about something. Trudy tells me she's a bad judge of character, and Cobb runs off with his tail between his legs. He's clearly read the script. I quickly rallied the town against the half-naked ruffians. The people of Goodsprings were simply too prudish to accept such a scandalous thing. Trudy fought the hardest of them all, and her reward was a broken leg. Unfortunately, I had no serum at the moment, so she would have to live with it. Thankfully, she didn't seem to mind too much. All that killing builds up quite the appetite. For grave robbing, of course. Crossfully, I cross-knew just the cross to cross. Speaking of crosses, I looted the burial sites of the old war veterans. I know you're probably thinking that they might not have appreciated it, but as somebody who knows the military, they do. Unfortunately, those miserable saps only had a useless plasma rifle, the selfish bastards. With my newfound useless junk in hand, I went back over to Trudy. If I know anything about broken legs, which I do, is that they love carrying heavy things. And with that all wrapped up, I could finally be on my way. What way was that, I didn't hear you ask? Nipton, of course. Along the way, I watched a really weird film. It was probably foreign. And picked up a quest that I was never going to complete. Swanwick lost the great lottery that is life. And at last I was here, Nipton. Here to do what I assume every player does. Talk to Boxcars. An NPC that everyone knows exists. You see, Boxcars is a man with a particular ailment, one that I may have found a serum to fix. Now, like a good doctor, I am here, and I made sure my cure worked by encouraging him to get up. This is where we get some good news and some bad news. The good news is that it worked. The bad news is that Wastelanders these days are just so ungrateful. Thankfully, the game encouraged my act of kind-hearted murder. Do you remember that cross from earlier? I think these might be his children. They seem like good kids. Nice and strong. I bet their dad is proud. Farther down the road, I found a different kind of punishment. These scorpions. They were trapped between the world of the digital living and the cold, harsh, endless void that lies just beneath my feet. God mocks even the smallest of creatures. I should have understood this as an omen when I stumbled upon a very rare sight, a place that I don't believe I've ever seen before. I foolishly pressed into Prim Pass. By the time I had realized my mistake, I had already triggered her trap. She might not have seen me, but my rank chicken stench meant that there was no hiding. My new route took me through must have been a scorpion family gathering. Judging by the turnout, I'd say Italians. I ran, and I ran, and I ran some more, and I ran off a cliff. I did it once more, this time with greater success, and found myself in Novac in no time. Now I could finally perform what was likely the gravest of my preordained quests. Boone would be the one to set the town on the road to ruination when he turned Ranger Andy's brains into strawberry jam. Fortunately, Boone wouldn't have to live with the guilt for very long. Before you ask, yes, I made sure Crawford got what was coming to her, despite her best attempt to intimidate me with her glitching garment. Once outside, I spoke to Whitman, who rambled on about her love of flying. Now, she can fly forever in the great big vertibird in the sky. The rest of the town died easily, all but Nobark, who I felt a strange kinship with. I suppose we can chat about it in hell. My next goal was smaller, a globe. On the way, I desecrated a war memorial or something, and before I knew it, I had a gaggle of followers. The first was a representative of Vegas's past, an NCR trooper giving me gifts. The second was a Vegas's present, House's fucktoy cowpoke robotwunk, urging me to keep going with the hopes that I'll join House. And the last was a representative of Vegas's future, the death of the NCR. Now that my poorly timed reference is behind me, I could make it to the city. I briefly broke rank to get into rank in order to get myself onto the strip, because there was no way I would give House any more of my pinched pennies. They're my pinched pennies! I immediately headed to the tops to blow the top off Benny. I did not, but he foolishly told me exactly where he was going. Scramsville. Setting that aside, I headed for my date with Destiny. Literally. James was my key. He was the only freak to have the software I needed to get my hardware. It was love at first sight. He was beautiful. I gleefully let the tin can have his way with me, and in my weakened state, I made my way back to the garrets. Once I limped outside, I was immediately jumped by a jealous threesome of old ladies who, ironically, likely couldn't jump. Now back at the Wrangler, I was paid handsomely, not by James, but by Fisto, who loved me as though there was no tomorrow. Feeling reinvigorated, I headed off to the mythical place known as Scramsville. It wasn't as cool as Benny made it seem, but I pushed past the disappointment to meet my new, not yet boss. He told me to go to his basement and blow it up. Man, is he gonna have quite the April Fool's Day. Oh wait! Benny wasn't a man long for this cruel world. Nobody can live that long, dressed quite like that. Earlier I had received an invite to the Lucky 38. However, being the gentleman and scholar I obviously am, I knew I couldn't show up without some housewarming gifts. See what I did there? Housewarming? Of course you didn't. Nobody ever does! Thankfully, I know some mutants who are great gift givers. I had a brief chat with my impromptu Santa, who was just as green as at the mall. I picked up my gift, the best late Christmas gift ever. I gave him the globes, I gave him the chip, and I gave him freedom from the mortal world. Though, unfortunately, not with the crowbar. Feeling proud of myself, I got myself a little gift of my own. A silencer for my pistol. It wasn't long before I got to try it out when Caesar told me to handle the boomers. I suppose it was only inevitable for a society that lives by the gun to die by the gun. A similar fate would befall the Brotherhood, though Veronica didn't know that. Yet. I'm sure it'll pass through the grapevine. Caesar's migraines are finally bad enough for him to ask me for an Advil. Finding one was a headache in and of itself. I went down to Vault 34, and the boomers got their revenge as their irradiated ancestors tore through my skin, ammo, and patience. It was here I remembered a most important fact. I am a moron. With this revelation in mind, I reloaded a save and completed what I thought would be an easy quest. I was very wrong. Fortunately, I possess something no Fallout NPC could ever dream of: strategy. All I had to do was lure Oris over to these Securitrons over here, though even my greatest plan was foiled by Oris's sheer power. Thankfully, the robots did enough damage that I could finally finish the job. Now that my medicine skill was high enough, I could make my own Advil. Caesar seemed thankful. He showed me this by giving me the opportunity to kill the president of the NCR. Kimball's speech moved me. It moved my soul, and his, into the afterlife. Now, it was finally time for the dam. Kind of. My first run was a complete disaster. I barely made it to the interior before realizing the key point of the run. My trip to Red Rock actually didn't go as poorly as I expected, though as it turns out, that wasn't what I should have been worried about. For some reason, the Oh My Papa quest simply wouldn't trigger. I talked to every NPC in the area, and still, nothing. Eventually, I said to hell with it and just killed Carl and Papa. Though frustrated, I was finally ready for the dam. It wasn't beautiful, it wasn't long, but it was difficult. I fought through the hordes of NCR troopers and all the way down to Oliver. I killed him and all of his compatriots, slowly, very slowly, picking them off one by one. You may have noticed that none of this is being displayed on your screen. You can thank the true endgame villain for that, OBS. OBS never changes. For the sake of the video, I reloaded the save and did it all over again, though this time I spared myself an hour of running in circles and just told Oliver to buzz off. I spoke with the Legate, and just like that, I beat Fallout New Vegas as the Courier. But wait, we didn't actually beat Fallout New Vegas as the Courier, because the Courier, much like my friends, doesn't exist. He's merely a figment of our imaginations, a collective hallucination imposed upon us by Todd Howard himself. So, with that in mind, I suppose I wasted all of our times, my time, your time. So much of my time.